She has no album that is white, but you know what is white? A wedding. Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you are new here. Don't forget to subscribe. I like to post about books and music, mostly Taylor Swift. So I had a completely different video planned for this week, but stuff ended up getting rearranged because I was not expecting us to be getting TS10. I was kind of prepping myself to have to plan around like another re-recording release, but it seems as if we are entering a completely new era. I literally am wearing a moon necklace, a blue dress, and some moon earrings. And of course I also have this. I'm just getting very dedicated. Also, can we hear it for the makeup? This actually didn't take me too long to do at all. I just like stuck some gems on there. But oh wow, I literally live streamed with you guys the night this was announced, and that was a very overwhelming time. So I just wanted to make a somewhat more of a cohesive video concerning theories for Midnights, and now that we've had a little bit of time to simmer in them, I'm basically going to be telling you everything that has crossed my mind that could possibly be happening with this album. It's irrelevant whether or not I still believe these things could kind of be happening. You know, my brain has taken a lot of turns in the last few days. I also had you guys submit some of your theories on my Instagram. Make sure to go follow it. I'll have the username like on the screen because I ask you guys to submit things a lot through my Instagram stories. So today I just have 15 things that have crossed my mind that I feel like could possibly be happening with Midnights. So this first one is one of the first things that crossed my mind when she announced this album. Will she have the dates of these 13 sleepless nights as the titles of the songs? Because we notice on the cover there is a track list there, but it just says track 1, track 2, track 3, which is a very retro thing to do, like 70s and 80s. A lot of albums had the track list on the cover. I feel like it would get confusing to have something like 8/20/22. So this is just something that very briefly crossed my mind. And also she recently posted a TikTok where she showed the alternative covers of Midnights and she blurred out the track list, but you can see that the tracks are of varying lengths. So it's definitely not going to be something that's like stiff, just dates, because obviously everything would look the same length. So I found myself thinking back to previous titles she's used, like Back to December or August, or if she even titled something like That July 9th, I think we would all collectively lose our minds. So I think there are definitely things to be done that can kind of reveal from what era these tracks are from, if that makes any sense. Like if each one is kind of like That July 9th, or she marks periods of time with the first fall of snow, and then she could put like a year there. I just feel like there's a lot of ways to indicate the time period through the title, and that would be a very nice cohesive thing, and she could make it very poetic. As I said, it doesn't have to be my original thought of like 8/22/22. She could really do this in a multitude of ways, and I think that would be really interesting. This is literally just me like reconvincing myself of a theory that I had that I disproved that now I want to get back on board with. I just think it would be really cool to have a song called That July 9th. I don't know, I just feel like there are more interesting ways of measuring time that I feel like Taylor could come up with that would make some beautiful titles that also communicate what time period this is from. Because it seems as if we have some songs that potentially were discovered while she was looking for From the Vault songs, or little pieces of things she'd written years ago that she might have finished recently. This will probably be a bit of a trip down memory lane. Do we think the songs are going to be in chronological order? I don't think they will be. Things continuing to cross my mind as I film this video. Okay, number 2, 1989 and folklore. Okay, so when I wrote this one down, I was keeping this post in mind right here. A 1989 type of sound, but it's like isolated and mysterious. There are no friends around you in New York City. It's like you've gone home for the evening and you're left alone with your thoughts, and something that encapsulates folklore's honesty. But the thing is, folklore is not an honest album. Like, it's very much a fictional escapist thing, but it's like if she were to take those ways of writing about other people and like apply them to herself again. I know she's been kind of veering away from diaristic style songwriting recently, but this one obviously seems very personal of an album. So I think, you know, a combination of 1989 and folklore, I'm seeing it. I really am, especially with sounds like Mirror Ball's 70s little disco type of ABBA thing going on. Not like ABBA, but like in the musicality, I suppose. I could see that kind of fitting in with a 1989 vibe. A lot of people are also getting rep vibes. I could see that as well. well, but just a lot more call it what you want and a lot less ready for it, for example. Number 3, are these old songs she found while looking for vault songs? This is one of my first questions I had when this was announced. I feel like the answer is yes. It's the story of 13 sleepless nights throughout her life. She's lived a lot of days at this point, so only 13 of them. I feel like they're plucked from all different time periods. People also have theories regarding this clock that I think is on her website, because each color is like a different color relating to her past albums. There's like yellow and red, and there's a little bit of purple on one of them. I think the 3 has purple and red on it. I'm not even looking at a picture of it, I'm just going off what I remember. The 3 has purple and red, and people are thinking that might be a track that is from the time period between Speak Now and Red, which makes me think of All Too Well, because All Too Well was the first song written for Red, so it was very much between eras. And then people are very confused with the 12 being white, and people are wondering like, oh, is that just like Midnight's, like she's highlighting the 12 in a bright white color that is not used on any of the other numbers. But I got a submitted theory that is making me wonder what this white means. We'll get into that later. Okay, number 4. Is this karma? A lot of people are wondering this, and I like to dive into this theory. So we need to think about the man wall in that music video, how it's all of her albums on there, but it also says karma, and people are like, oh my god, that's the unreleased album. Been there, heard that theory. But basically karma is positioned where the 12 on a clock would be. Like, people have been looking at this picture for months now and thinking it means the order of re-recordings, like clockwise, because it was Fearless and then Red. Whatever happens after that, I don't remember. I'm not looking at the picture right now, but you guys are. Basically, karma is placed where Midnight would be on the clock. Clock imagery for the whole Midnight's era. This is how people are putting that together. I never went too into detail on what I think karma would have been if karma does exist, but I think a lot of people are very misguided in thinking that karma would be like pretty much just reputation. I don't think that is what it would have been at all. If there is a karma, it's something that was written before 2016 at all. It would have been something she was kind of writing and prepping for since 1989. I do kind of think she mostly took a break because of the 2016 issues, so I see the probability of karma with that if she wasn't going to take a break for 3 years and she had an album ready to go for 2016 and Bleachella was this beginning of the rollout period. What I think would have been on karma would be like potentially stuff aimed at Calvin Harris. She never released like anything about him. I don't believe that she never wrote anything at all about him. By that point, that was the longest relationship she had ever been in. And I remember for a while, like while 2015 was happening and she was on tour for 1989, she was like praising Calvin so much and things seemed so sweet, and she would talk about him in like interviews and everything just seemed great. Like, I don't believe there are no songs. Also, I feel like it probably hurt for them to like kind of break up the way they did, with him trying to maintain this relevancy, using her, but it also definitely was a relationship that she was trying to escape. Getaway car, Exhibit A. I don't know, I think she did feel something for him at one point, for sure. You don't date someone for over a year and not. There's a lot of ways that could go. Is there some middle of the night tea aimed at Calvin Harris? Also, karma could be something that is directed at her record label. I know the whole Scooter thing didn't happen by that point, but I know she had been in a lot of battles with her record label, and I think she was starting to become aware of how manipulated she was as a teenager to sign with them. I feel like there might be some like My Tears Ricochet type of stuff on a karma slash Midnight's type of thing. We also never got anything concerning that sexual assault case, which was very exhausting for her. I feel like she might have wrote poems about this. I feel like there's an aspect of karma that guy got that he deserved. I think if we're going to get anything about that, it would be something done in a folklore style on Midnight's, where it's like confessional and personal and not something that's like overly feminist, I guess. I would expect something where it feels like she's just speaking for herself and through her own experiences. But, you know, while entertaining this thought that Midnight's is actually karma, because it is something that was written over her entire life, kind of, and about experiences from her entire life, basically what I think would be happening is that maybe there are a few songs that were on this potential karma TS6, and she took those and added them to Midnight. I also feel like there are a few of them that did transfer over to Rep. I remember the producer of So It Goes saying he and Taylor, and I think Max Martin as well, all wrote the song So It Goes together in 2015, which was before she met Joe, so that song's not about Joe. That could be about like Harry or Calvin, or it could be like something completely separate that we don't even know. So It Goes could potentially already be from a karma type of era. You can Google this, but basically there was an article where that producer said that he like was working with Taylor Swift around around the time he became a father. He had his first son in 2015. So I feel like karma's getting like chopped up. If it existed at all, it is getting chopped up and moved on to different things. I also feel like it will show up in vault tracks between 1989 and Reputation. I've talked about this before. I don't really feel like she's going to release Karma. I feel like it's just getting chopped up and we're not gonna know exactly what's going on. Like, we're gonna be none the wiser. We'll just get Reputation vault tracks and 1989 vault tracks. We'll get some stuff on Midnights. We already have a couple of songs potentially on Reputation that are from Karma. Like, I feel like this album is just getting Frankensteined, and I'm not mad about it. I mean, we're getting the same material possibly. If something is really good, I don't think Taylor is going to hesitate to release it from now on, now that she has this freedom that she does with this record label. So in conclusion, Midnights could potentially be a little bit of Karma mixed in. If it was written during that like 2016 time period, some of it, yeah, I see it. That was a really long-winded way of explaining that one. Okay, this was one of my own questions. Will this be a 2-year era, like before Folklore / the pandemic? She's able to tour this summer. There are a lot of rumors that she will be touring this summer. Previously, people expected it to be some kind of greatest hits tour, but now I'm wondering if it's going to be like a Midnights tour. But if she does a 2-year long era of Midnights, does that mean there will be no more re-recordings for 2 years? Is she taking a break from that? I could see it, especially not knowing how long this lawsuit with 1989 is going to go on. There's also a trademark issue with Speak Now, I believe. I've been chewing this question over in my head. I feel like the answer is no. I feel like this is not the full new era that we're all kind of expecting. I feel like this is another album that's going to get the Folklore Evermore treatment. Obviously not in style. I really am not thinking we're getting another folk album. I think if we were, she would just call it Woodvale. I think this is a completely different point in her life. Like, things are kind of getting back to normal. It's no more escapism, pandemic vibes. But I also feel like if she tours, it's not going to be for Midnights. First of all, because the track list is only 13 tracks, and unless there are like several bonus tracks like she used to do back in the day, I just don't really see her touring for a 13 track long album. I don't know why. It just seems not like something she would do. And also, if she's putting out several re-recordings during this Midnights era, I think that's going to like dilute the midnightsiness of the whole thing. I don't know. I think we're all kind of really overthinking this. I think things have changed so much since she signed with UMG. I don't know if we're ever gonna get like full-on 2-year dedication of an era again until we get like a greatest hits tour, until she finishes all the re-recordings. Like, I don't think we're moving on from this chaos era, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's gonna be my final answer. Because the re-recordings are not done, I don't think Midnights is the TS10 comeback that we all thought TS10 would be. I think this is just something she came up with that she wanted to do, and she's just gonna put it out now while we wait for the re-recordings. I don't think there's going to be a dedicated tour. Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of people were theorizing that TS10 would be the album where we get like a full-on 2-year dedicated time period, but I just really have a feeling that's not what we're getting still. Okay, number 6. This is a theory I talked about on my live stream. Each song being a different genre to match the time period when the Sleepless Nights happened. So if there are diary entries from like Fearless era and she decided to complete the verses that she potentially wrote in 2008 about these sleepless nights, will it fit the country vibe, or is she going to like try to make them all fit into one genre? And I really think this is going to be a retro type of vibe if we're just going based off the aesthetics of the album. If it's going to be cohesive, it's going to be all one genre. I think it's going to be 70s-ish, 1989, 1979. There's going to be some retro sounds. There might be some kind of like rock poppy sounds. I feel like we're going to get a 1970s disco-y style reminiscent song. I've kind of given up on the idea that we would have multiple genres spanning this album. It just feels too chaotic, but it's Taylor Swift, so how am I supposed to know? I feel like it's also very doable to take some of the stuff from her country eras and just vamp them up into a 70s or 80s style. I feel like she did that with Don't You from the vault tracks of Fearless. That one is so, it sounds like it belongs on 1989. I feel like it's not that hard to get the production to all match. Or is this gonna be like another Red type of album where everything's just a million different genres and she's just having fun? God, I just want to know. I also want to hear all of your thoughts If you have any input, please comment down below. Oh my god, somebody submitted that they think she's going to be doing 2-minute long songs, and this person wrote, which kills me, but she's gonna hop on the trend and slay it. The length of songs are really shortening these days. Because songs go viral mostly on like TikTok, I think artists are trying to shorten their songs as much as possible to get as much of it into a TikTok as possible. But also like Taylor's stuff is like blowing up on TikTok. Like August has had such a run on TikTok and they like sped it up into that Nightcore style. I think she's getting so many streams every year during August just because of that song, and people are making TikToks set to that song, and it doesn't matter that that song is very long. I feel like Taylor is the exception when it comes to these new 2-minute long tracks, because without Taylor Swift, if you like do not consider her in pop music, the bridge is dying. There are not many songs that I hear on the charts or on TikTok that have a bridge at all, and I feel like that's Taylor's legacy, is to keep the bridge alive and show younger artists that you can still have a song that goes viral on TikTok with an iconic bridge and with a point in the song where it seems like it's ending, but then you extend it even longer with "Remember when I pulled up and said get in the car," and then you know how it goes. I think maybe we could see like 1 or 2 songs that are short on this one, but I think she's going to stick with her super long track length, because there are only so many artists who can keep our attention with a song that long, and I think if you are one of those artists, you probably want to take advantage of that because you can create serious masterpieces. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to consider, but I just don't think she's going to bow to that trend. I feel like she has her own way of doing things and it's not going to waver, because she is keeping shit alive for the other artists right now who may not want to succumb to the 2-minute long track. Number 8. This was another submission. Harry Styles collab for sure. The pop rock vibe demands it, plus the way style begins. The disco thing with style. Is she gonna collab with Harry Styles? I feel like that'd be a little bit too weird. On one hand, I feel like it's weird because like the phase that she's at in her life, well, I guess both of them being in like pretty committed relationships, but also it seems like that's a very, okay, this is just for work type of thing where things don't have to be complicated in the slightest. Guys, I don't think it's gonna happen. Is there any proof of them talking after the 2020 Grammys? If there is, I stand corrected. I feel like this would be very surreal, but I wouldn't be mad at it. Okay, so there have been theories going around on like Demois that TS10 is going to be her most collaborative album, blah blah blah, with mostly female collaborations. Also, I think back to like those outfits she was seen in with the little writing pad thing. She was leaving like Jack Antonoff's apartment, or there was a TikTok of her and people could tell by the wallpaper that she was with Jack Antonoff. So I feel like there were a lot of signs pointing towards something coming soon, but I guess we all just kind of figured it was another re-recording. Anyway, if this is true that it is a highly collaborative album, I believe it's going to feature Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne pretty much confirmed this the other day. She did an interview while she was getting her Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and somebody asked her, I think, like, do you have any new music coming out at all? Like any singles? And she said, yeah, actually I have a collaboration coming out in like 2-ish months. Taylor's album comes out in 2-ish months. I think that's what we're getting. I really do. I also feel like maybe Lana Del Rey could be on it. People are theorizing this because Lana liked Taylor's post about Midnights. I mean, that's really not as much of a confirmation as Avril's, but I could see it. It seems that they're like friendly, so hopefully that's what that means. Of course, everybody has been wanting her and Selena to collaborate forever. I guess it's possible. I don't really see it happening. I don't know why, but I just feel like that's not going to be something we're getting. Another possibility, if this album does sound like 60s or 70s rock pop, I kind of see her exploring collaborating with some 70s icons, kind of like what Miley Cyrus did with her, what was that album called? Plastic Hearts. She had Billy Joel on it. She had Joan Jett. I feel like Taylor would do something with like Stevie Nicks. I could see Stevie Nicks. If ABBA shows up, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. But I could kind of see that. I don't see anyone who's a little bit too rock oriented. If Taylor collaborated with a 70s icon, who do you think that would be? Comment down below. I know Taylor would die to collaborate with Joni Mitchell, but Joni Mitchell was a bitch to her. And I know Taylor has spoken about like when she gets really drunk, she starts crying about Joni Mitchell. It sucks that I just know that's not going to be something that happens. But yeah, my only guesses are really like ABBA or Stevie Nicks. Okay, number 10. So the alternative covers makes me think we're getting a 70s vibe. There's a piano in the back of one of them, and I believe it's a Yamaha from the 60s and 70s. I mean, the entire thing is just screaming 60s, 70s. She has like a corded telephone. I think we'll get something that musically sounds like Mirror Ball. I think I've already said this though. Okay, number 11. I think there's going to be some kind of Cinderella reference, or what if she sampled one of of the original Cinderella Disney songs. Or maybe she's gonna pull a love story and write a song about Cinderella with some kind of twist and she changes the ending. This might be a little bit too specific, but it's crossed my mind, so I'm telling you about it because this is a brain dump video. Okay, number 12. So there are some people who pre-saved the album on Apple Music who noticed the category was rock. I can only find one picture of proof of this, and I can't find this happening for me. Like whenever I go to Apple Music and try to search this album, first of all, nothing comes up. I don't even know how to pre-save it. It seems like this photo is fake, but I don't know. I remember in 2012 when I was uploading my little red CD onto my MacBook because we still had the little disc drives back then. And as I was putting it in Apple Music, well, it was iTunes back then, it was telling me that it was country folk. Yeah, it was labeling Olive Red as like country folk. And that was before I'd even listened to it. So that was like a hint to me, even though it had already come out, it was like no surprise. But I don't know about this one. Does Apple Music actually still do this? And does it do it for pre-saving? Whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. I stream everything now. Well, I buy the CDs, but I like listen to them in the car. I don't really put them on my laptop anymore because I don't have a disc drive anymore. Number 13. I'm saving the best for 13. This is a submission I got from one of you guys. She's going to reveal her and Joe are married. 13 will be about the night before the wedding, like the 13th track. Now this is a person who has their head glued on straight. This person is thinking rationally. They are not getting affected by the chaos of it all. This sounds like a very, very Taylor Swift thing to do. And I've always thought if she is married or if she gets married, she's going to tell us through song form. Like I don't see her just like posting something on Instagram about it. I see her writing a song about it. But it's also like now that you have guessed something this specific, I don't think it's going to happen because this is too specific. Like how could you possibly get this right? But back on what I wanted to talk about earlier with the 12 on the clock that is white. All the other colors match up to an era in her career. She has no album that is white, but you know what is white? A wedding. I'm afraid for this one. I hate that I've spoken it into existence because now I'm afraid like this isn't going to be what it is. Well, if they're not married at all, we're not going to get this. But if they are, we better get this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is too realistic. This is the most realistic one on this entire list. God, this person, you absolutely have your shit together. Okay, number 14. Somebody suspects this is going to be a bridge between 1989 and Reputation. This kind of goes along with the whole Karma suspicion. It seems like the Bleachella era, is this the kind of Taylor that was writing this album? Or maybe they're talking about this like genre-wise. I kind of think so, but the more time passes between the announcement and the present time, the more I don't think this is going to be a rock album in the way we've been hoping for several years, and the more I think this is going to be like a 70s rock album or a 70s pop rock album, or maybe even like an alt pop type of thing, dark pop, dreamy pop. I think it's going to be softer than Reputation for sure, but a little more eccentric than 1989, so I see what this person means if they're talking about musically. Lyrically, yeah, there definitely could be some stuff that she wrote about between 1989 and Rep that is going to make the Midnights album. If Karma's getting all butchered up, if Karma exists, I think there would be stuff from that album on Midnights. If Karma is a thing and if Karma is getting cut up, it's going to be on 1989, Reputation, and Midnights, and that will be how it's split up, I believe. And number 15, somebody just said, I just know the music video will be the best vibes. This is another thing that is pointing me towards the idea of this not being a full era like we've been used to for the past, what, 15 years? Where it's like a 2-year long rollout period with like singles coming every few months. If there are no singles and there's only like one music video for this or something, I wouldn't call that like a traditional era that we've been seeing. Like I don't think it's going to be a 2-year long thing if it's like a quick release and then right back to the re-recordings. A lot of thoughts. There's just a lot of thoughts going on. I think we'll get a music video on the day it's released, like the album itself. I think she's gonna go silent again up until the album drops. I don't know why I feel like that. Mostly because I feel like this isn't like a huge official era. I think this is just another release that she's able to do because she does not have a controlling record label anymore. I kind of was expecting a music video or a single to drop this last Friday. It would feel very correct with her announcing it on a Sunday and then that Friday we get something that feels like a great amount of time and great spacing. But since we didn't, I'm starting to wonder if we're not going to get anything until the day it's released, which in my book would classify classify this as not like an official era. So those are my thoughts. This was a lot of thinking out loud, brain dumping, very casual type of video, but I did tell you on my Instagram stories that was how this was going to be. I just felt like I really needed to get something out in a little bit more of a clear-cut format than my like hour-long live stream that's all chaotic and I'm answering everybody's questions and we're all just like screaming. I feel like some time has passed where I can think a little bit rationally, but obviously not that rationally. If you've watched the last however many minutes, I'm still confused, okay? Nobody freaking knows what she's doing. As always, please leave me all your theories down in the comments and all of your requests. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything else related to Midnight unless something is happening until October 21st. So happy Midnight's era to all of you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to follow me on my Instagram, it is right here. And if you want to follow me on my TikTok, that is right here. I will see you all next week for another video, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye, guys.